my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
A tornado near Chicago's O'Hare International Airport triggered sirens across the area, warning people to take cover. The threat also prompted a Chicago meteorologist to tell his coworkers to take cover.
Newsroom, time to get out of the newsroom. Just get into interior room because
The Chicago area was hit by multiple tornadoes.
The National Weather Service confirms 7 tornadoes so far, but that number is expected to rise as they finish their field storm survey.
Meteorologist Amber Wheeler explains why these tornadoes are potentially historic.
When a line of storms tore through parts of northern Illinois on Wednesday evening, it sent tornado sirens blaring through areas that haven't heard these sounds in years. A tornado was visually confirmed at O'Hare International, where warehouses nearby were damaged. It sent passengers scrambling to shelter with hundreds of flights disrupted. Several homes and businesses have been heavily damaged, and many large trees, some around 100 years old, were uprooted. Luckily, no injuries have been reported. The storms were part of a larger complex that started at the 5 p.m. hour and went till about 8 p.m. So this was not a long-lived event. But these areas of storms is what led the Weather Service to survey 9 areas for suspected tornadoes. Now, tornadoes are rare for the Chicago area, but not unheard of. Before Wednesday, Cook County, where Chicago is located, has had 61 tornadoes since 1950. That's less than 1 per year. But there's a common misconception that tornadoes can't happen in large cities. That's just not true. Tornadoes can be almost a mile tall on average, so no tall building can stop that. And that's almost 20 Superdomes, by the way. Lake Michigan does have an influence, but it doesn't protect the city. The cool lake breeze in the spring can help suppress tornado development, but in the summer, the water is warm enough to actually aid in tornadic development. Chicago and northern Illinois don't see as many tornadoes because of where they're not located. It's in these areas that you see that are more prone to tornado development due to the natural clash of cool, dry air and warm, moist air. So tornadoes can happen anywhere just about in the United States. They're just not as common in northern Illinois, which is what makes Wednesday's outbreak potentially historic.